Welcome to an overview of the changes to Harcourts' residential agency agreement. Why changes? It is to increase the level of protection to franchisors, branch managers, agents and salespeople who are part of Harcourts. REAA will ask Harcourts related CAC or REDIC cases, what are your policies relating for situation X? We need to provide it, and the agency agreement will form part of this. The new agency agreement has been reviewed and endorsed by the Franchise Council. This agreement has been extended and it incorporates the requirements under the Health and Safety Act and aligns our documents with REN's clauses and the REAA Professional Conduct and Client Care Rules, April 2012. The first 3 pages, client details, legal company, tenant and lifestyle details, along with the property description, remain relatively unchanged. There is just more space for remarks, and the form is streamlined to reflect how OAs enter the information into Harcourts 1. There are some minor additions and amendments to the chattels, and at the bottom of each page there is provision for all parties to initial. There is really nothing here that should be daunting to you at all. If you look now to page 4, you will note at the top of this page there is a new field, which is the property address. This was added to each of the subsequent pages, and as I mentioned earlier, it will make it easier for the OAs to track the listing if the pages become separated. This was also a recommendation by the REAA. Clauses 1 and 2 is really just a tidy up of the old agency agreement. There is nothing to be concerned about here. Just ensure that you have read and understood these clauses. The main point here is that it ties to Clause 23, notices, and we'll come to that a little later on. You will need to select sole or general agency. Clause 3, prior agency, was previously on page 5. It has now been consolidated to the first page, and it also notes the agency period. Clause 4, additional authorities, sales method. This relates to the auction authority, the pre-auction authority, and the tender authority. If you need further clarification on the pre-auction offer process, please speak with your agent licensee or branch manager. You can refer to the Harcourts 1 library for additional resources. Moving along, Clause 5, marketing. This has been tipped on its head, and that is really just to do with the language. It also refers to the agreed marketing, and the payment details have been fine-tuned. Clause 6, you will note, is similar to the older agency agreement, but like most of this document, it offers more provision for detail. Clause 7 is used for reimbursements or attached marketing schedules. If we look now to Clause 8, commission, this is pretty self-explanatory in terms of the payment of commission. There has been a little bit more wording update on 8.2, and it places more onus on the client giving clearer instructions around communicating with the licensee, declaring the property unconditional. There are some important notes with Clause 9, the calculation of commission. Clause 9.11, if you wish to amend the 3.95 rate, then you will need to call DMP to amend the commission price. There will be no copies of blank versions printed. The commission rate will be pre-populated. 9.2, appraisals. This relates to REN's best practice on appraisals, and you must only take the client's asking price if you're unable to provide a CMA, and that will be in rare circumstances. If you are ticking that the price is the client's asking price, then you are to ensure that you follow the REAA Professional Conduct and Client Care Rules 2012, Rule 10.3. 9.3 under calculations of commission, any outstanding amount can be deducted from the deposit. This also serves us as a reminder that we are duty bound to provide an estimate of commission based on the REAA Professional Conduct and Client Care Rules 2012, Rule 10.6. It is important also to note the Unit Title Act information relating to Section 147 and 148 of the Unit Titles Act 2010. You cannot release the deposit until you have all the undertakings completed regarding the strata title. For example, pre-settlement disclosures provided to the purchaser solicitor and need to be deemed accepted. If this is not provided, the purchaser could have the right to cancel the contract. Clause 10 is a new addition, and this provides space for further information. Clause 11 referrals is the same as before. Clause 12 for rebates, discounts and commissions, you need to delete either 12.11 or 12.12. If you are choosing 12.12, then you'll need to enter any applicable expenses in the table below. If we move on now to client warranties, Clause 13. The client warranties are no longer strewn throughout the agreement and have been put together so you are able to ask the relevant questions. It has been expanded, thus helping with warning bells for the salesperson. For example, if one trustee was unaware of intent to sell and has not seen the CMA document. This section has been updated since the June release of this agreement, and the initial boxes after each warranty have also been removed. There is provision at the bottom right of this page for all parties to initial. Health and safety, Clause 14. This is also based on the RENS clause, and it's been added to reflect the new legislation in the Health and Safety Work Act 2015. It is designed to make the client vendor more aware of their obligations relating to the Act. Clause 15 is to list all the identifiable hazards in the box, and it helps to demonstrate the minimising of risk. You will note on Harcourts 1 with your listing, there has been provision to add the hazards here as well. If you're using the iPad, you will also be able to add the hazards there on your Open Home register. So both registers, one in Harcourts 1 and also on the iPad, you will be able to record your hazards for the property. Clause 16, methamphetamine. This will help you, the salesperson, understand what the vendor's position is on the methamphetamine test. One of the three options must be selected and initial. And again, you need to note your obligations under the REAA Professional Conduct and Client Care Rules. Clause 17 is a new clause. Use of materials. It is designed to allow the use of imagery for additional purposes. Example, salesperson promotion post-sale with marketing materials. Another new clause is Clause 18, disclosure of information. And this relates again to the REAA Professional Conduct and Client Care Rules 2012. Clause 19, additional spaces for anything, relates to disclosure on property and also the land. Clause 20, data collection, giving specific consent to provide data to RENs. Clause 21, Indemnity. This is also a new addition, and it is designed to be more robust in protecting us. It indemnifies us if the vendor has withheld information, and it allows the relevant parties to pursue seeking costs from the client if this clause has been breached. If unclear on definitions in Clause 21, refer back to Clause 1.1. Confidentiality. Clause 22. This defines the confidentiality relating to the agency agreements. This should have always been best practice, so while the clause is new, the practices shouldn't be. As mentioned earlier, Clause 23, Notices. This is another new clause providing better definition of the notice process, and it ties back to Clause 2.1 and 2.2 for the notice period. On to General, Clause 24. Of note here is 24.3. The working day is defined in the agency agreement, and it lines up with the REN's sale and purchase agreement. Clause 25 has consolidated all the scattered clauses in one place. Some are REN's clauses and others have been updated for better definition. It notes and explains the complaints procedure as advised, and the client and customers can access the REAA complaints process. And again, this relates back to the REAA professional conduct and client care rules. Finally, the execution. There is provision here for all parties to sign, and you will note once again that this has been abbreviated from the first release, which came out in June of this year. Key points. This will offer a greater level of protection. We're incorporating the Health and Safety Act, and we've aligned our clauses to the REN's clauses and also the REAA professional conduct and client care rules. If you do want any further information, please do speak to those in your office or refer to the reference library on Harcourts 1.